Hi everyone, welcome to Victoria Marchant Knits on YouTube. I'm so glad you found me here. Today I'm going to show you how to do a provisional version of the long tail cast on. You will need your working yarn, which is the teal colour, and some scrap yarn, which is the orangey colour, and some needles. The provisional long tail is basically the same as a long tail cast on, but using scrap yarn for one of the strands, and what that means is that you don't have to measure. Very nice. So I arrange my yarns like this, working yarn over scrap yarn, and I hold the short tails in my right hand alongside the right hand needle. Pull it through a bit to leave a decent tail, and then I'm going to insert my pointer finger and my thumb through the yarns just like I would for a normal long tail cast on, and from that point it's the same thing. You pick up from the thumb, pick up from the finger. Oops, never mind that bit. Let's try again. Pick up from the thumb, pick up from the finger, and a loop of your working yarn is on your needle, secured by the scrap yarn, which we can take out later and pop those live stitches back on the needles to work in the other direction. The movements I'm doing here are exactly the same as a standard long tail cast on. I'm going to do a few nice and slow so that if you're not so familiar with long tail you can see what I'm doing, and it creates a really neat cast on. Some other tutorials will tell you to start with a slip knot of both strands held together for a provisional long tail. I don't like to do that because I think that slip knot is tricky to unpick later. Here's those really slow stitches for you. Exactly the same as a normal long tail cast on. It's just the way you arrange the yarns and hold them at the start. Now when we come to unpick this, it's going to be really easy, really neat. When we're done, we just turn the work, or join to work in the round if that's what you're doing, and carry on as normal. So I'm going to work a couple of rows just so we've got enough work to hold on to, and then I'll flip it around and show you how to take out that provisional yarn on the cast on. Okay, that should be enough. So we've got a few rows here, enough to hold on to, and we've got our provisional cast on down the bottom here. Now if you flip it over and look at the back of the work, do you see those pearl bumps here poking up between the wraps of provisional yarn? Those are what's going to be the live stitches at the other end. So those are the pearl bumps that we want to pick up and pop back on the needle. So that's literally all I'm going to do. I'm just using the other end of my needle here for convenience. It's a little bit fiddly because I'm using short needles, but that's okay. This is just to show you the technique. It's not going to be anything. So I'm just picking up each of those loops and getting them on the needle. A bit fiddly at the end here, but we'll get there. Okay, so that's the pearl bumps picked up on my other needle, and now all that's left, uh-oh, looks like I missed the first one. That's okay, I'll pick it up later. I'm going to use a spare DPN that I've got handy to pull the loops out, just because it's easier than trying to get your fingers in there in those teeny tiny stitches. So for most of these I can just pull them through from one side. If it's a bit tight and it doesn't want to come, a little wiggle might help. If I hold it like this you can see a bit better, I think. Sometimes fingers are easier. just going to keep working along, pulling out all of this scrap yarn, and you can see already that the loops I've picked up are sitting neatly on the needle. Sometimes it really doesn't want to come through, and then you can flip it over and just pull through on the back before pulling through on the front, because technically if you only pull through from one side, you're pulling through two at a time, which always takes a bit more brute force, and we don't want to damage the knitting and mess up the tension or anything. So if it won't go, just flip it and work from the other side, and then come back to the front. There we go, nearly there. There we go, and you can see I did miss the first loop, but that's okay. All I'll do is stick a locking stitch marker through it, and when I get to it, I'll just pop it back on the needle. And of course, because I'm using a bulb pin, it's quite sharp, and I'm trying to make sure I go through the loop rather than through the yarn. There we go. Just lock that to hold on to it. Okay. And a slight mess up with that first stitch aside. There we go, all of the stitches are on the needle at both ends, ready to work. Nice and easy, isn't it? If you can do a long tail, you can do this. And of course, if you've got any questions, just leave them in the comments for me and I'll get back to you. Bye.